Big news out of NASCAR yesterday. After years of debate, NASCAR finally banned the display of the Confederate flag from all of their events nationwide. So this is something that they've been battling with and debating with internally since 2015 after the mass shooting by Dylan Roof in South Carolina. Back then, Chairman Brian France, whose grandfather started the National Association for Stock Car and Auto Racing in 1948, urged fans to refrain from displaying the Confederate flag. The track president at Daytona even offered up a program to turn in your Confederate flag that would give you a brand new American flag on the 4th of July that weekend.
How about that? It's like the Hernandez jersey swap in New England.
Dale Jr. went back then on record, said it's offensive to an entire race and it belongs in the history books, and that's about it. It seems the tides have turned now with public sentiment being like, okay, maybe now's the time we get rid of it, and no longer will it be displayed at any NASCAR event.
I read the article I believe you are referencing in this thing, and it is interesting because NASCAR and the people who own the tracks had been putting out like, we strongly urge you not to bring Confederate flags to our races. And then there was even like a thing where you aren't allowed to bring them, but I would assume those flags can get folded up, and whenever you got hundreds of thousands of people going into a place, you can still get them in there. So you would still see them. And now I feel like NASCAR felt like this was a good time to be like, hey, listen, we all see what's going on. I feel like we're all a little bit more knowledgeable about the world that we're living in, and the things that potentially offend an entire race of people are much more known. We would like to make it official that not only are we telling you not to do it anymore, now it is completely prohibited. I assume they're going to ban people if they have them and find them in there, much like if you go to, like for instance, I went to Kevin Hart's show here in Indianapolis. They had a strong no phone policy. Strongest no phone policy I've ever seen in my entire life. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. How's this going to play out? They had 2 security guards basically for every single section. And if a phone was saw, you'd get flashlighted, the security would come to you and they would escort you out. And then they would delete whatever was on your phone, right? For a comedian, if somebody hears your joke, it's basically over. For a musician, they can hear a song. You can play a song 400, 500 times. For a comedian working out either a new set that isn't finished yet, or for a joke that you've already told, you don't want to ruin an arena's reaction to it because this video was already made on the internet or something of that nature. But I never seen somebody do it as serious as Kevin Hart did. 5, 6 times for every opener, they would reiterate, do not use your phones tonight. You will get kicked out of here. That's what NASCAR will have to do then. If they really want to make it, because for 5 years they've been telling people not to do it and it's still been happening. Now that they're completely banning and prohibiting it, they're going to have to find the people and kick them out. And that is going to cause quite a scene, I would assume. Because there are people, it never made sense to me. I'm from Pittsburgh, shout out to the North. Okay, we're above the Mason-Dixon. We got a dub. We're still undefeated. Then I went to West Virginia, a state that literally left Virginia so that they could join the Union. Then I came out to Indiana, a part of the Union, even though there are some deep hated history here in Indiana, a part of the Union. So I never understood the tie to the Confederate flag and why it is even still. I never understood it. Being from the North, being in America, I never understood why the Confederate flag was around. I still don't, by the way. But there's some people that, well, it's not about just, slavery. It's about the heritage of the South. It's like, well, isn't that the heritage? Isn't that kind of what the whole thing was about there for a little? So it never made sense. But I think the same people that are now telling NASCAR that they'll never come to another race and being upset about it, I think NASCAR is finally at the point where they're like, good. Don't come. That's fine with us. We don't care. You got Bubba Wallace having a Black Lives Matter car, an African-American race car driver. I think that is big, the banning on this thing. It may be, by the way, just like what happened to me, NASCAR is much more interesting after this sports lockout that is. I watch a couple of their races, still have been watching a couple of races, good races. Maybe NASCAR is like, hey, we got a good product. We can no longer have a stain on our product that could potentially be turning away millions and millions of people. But that's a tough decision whenever you're potentially turning away your entire fan base, because that's where NASCAR started at. So that's a tough decision. I'm happy they made it. I hope it works out. But I think people sneaking Confederate flags into races will continue. And those scenes of when they're trying to get rid of the flags and the people will be aggressive, if I had to guess.